The whole question of sin and categorizing sin and whether certain behaviors are worse than others, we have to really think carefully about this. First, before God, sin is sin before God. We are sinning against a holy, righteous, perfect, infinite God who demands from us all of our love and loyalty and trust and service. That's what the Great Commandment clearly reveals to us, that God has the right and He is worthy of our worship. He has the right to demand these things. So sin before Him, any sin, any violation of His moral demands, His moral character reflected in the revealed Word of God brings about death. The wages of sin is death. But then when we think of sin at the human level and its implication and consequences, we don't want to just make all sin equal in the sense of how it shows up in our families, our relationships, and society. We, in our courts, distinguish various consequences of sin. So high officials in government who commit treason, they're lying, they're breaking trust. We can do that at a private or in a family relationship, yet we consider that high official's consequences very serious because his break of trust, his turning over secrets of the nation may involve then a loss of military action. They may involve the loss of many lives. We hold people more accountable for those actions, even though before God, sin is sin. Sometimes we categorize in our society the debate on a lot of sexual sins. We say, well, sin prior, sexual activity prior to marriage and then adultery. I mean, it's all equal. It's just the same. And then we even bring in, say, instead of heterosexuality sins, we bring in homosexuality. Well, even here we have to think carefully about this. Yes, any sexual activity outside of the heterosexual marriage bond is sin before God. Yet, even in the practice of sexual sins, we distinguish the abuse of an adult, of a child. We distinguish sins that are against the created order versus that which God has made to be normal, such as male-female in marriage relationship. And so we have to keep these points distinct. We have to then see what the consequences are for a society, a family. We can then think through that sin has to carry greater punishment and weight to it in order to discourage it, even though before God, sin is sin. So keeping all of that in balance is crucial in thinking carefully about how we think about sin, how we think of sins being better or worse, and how we then carry out our practice even in society of punishment and dealing with crime and dealing with sins against one another as well as sins before God.
Thanks for watching. You can submit your questions by email, Twitter, or in the comments section below. And don't forget to subscribe to find out the answer to next week's question.